Alright, so we're back to do the final touches on the portrait. Now, because I used black on the eyelashes, they're standing out way too much. So what I'm going to do is just use my finger to kind of tap and blend that value in. Now, if you don't want to draw a lot of attention to the eyelashes, of course, you can just slightly darken the lash line. You don't have to physically draw the eyelashes. To mute the black into a gray, I'm just using my white stick. And over top of the black pupils, I'm going to put a little bit of brown because I want to subdue that color slightly. And I want to work back and forth a little bit more with my eye color. And since my eyes are light, I'm going to use a little bit of my white charcoal to put just some lines kind of radiating out from the center of the eye. And then just kind of tapping the color to get it to blend in and sit on the page. Anywhere that I've put a shadow, I want to also work in a little bit of purple. Underneath your eye, your lower eyelid, it's like a little shelf, right? So I'm going to put a little bit of red down and then a little bit of white to get that nice pink color. And then using the brown, I just want to create a slight shadow underneath. Okay, the same thing with the tear duct in the corners of the eye. Put a little bit of pink and mark it down. Push it down with a Q-tip. Because I'm using my fingers and I've got different colors on my hand, that's getting into the skin tone and it's muddying up the colors slightly. But like I said in the last video, you only work the face up about halfway. And then you continue to add in the details and work with the skin tone. Because of the nature of this medium, it's very easy to manipulate and move around and correct. So don't get too attached to it and know that it's going to change as you go along. Anytime I make a change, like right now I'm adding a little bit more definition to the chin, I like to do a little bit all over, not just in one place. So I'm going to take the brown up to redefine my upper eyelid. And notice how I'm using it more like a pencil here. Okay, I'm just adding a line and then smoothing it out. I want to get a little bit of a highlight right in the center of the upper eyelid where it curves around the eye. Now you're not going to see that too much in the end because I'm going to put lashes back over top of that, but it's an important detail. Anywhere that my highlights are starting to get muddy, I put a little white followed by a little bit of yellow, and then you can just kind of push that back down. If it gets too yellow, add some red. If that's too light, add a little bit of green to the red to turn it brown. To get your eyelashes, the marks that you're going to make, we'll do it, where can you see it? Okay, so the marks that you're going to make, pretend like this is your upper eyelid. They can either fan out from underneath, like so, or come straight out, but always from underneath. That makes it look a little bit more natural. Of course, like I said before, if you don't have long eyelashes or you don't want to draw a lot of attention to it, or if your eyelashes are light in color, you can just slightly darken the end of the lash line, and you don't have to use black. I'm only using black because that's the color of my eyelashes. So I'm going to come in and with a much lighter touch than the last video, I'm just barely touching the paper. I'm winging out the eyelashes. As you get to the center, of course, you're going to change direction. And that's it. So one last thing I'd like to do to the eyes to animate them is take the white and put a little white dot in the center of the eyes. That just perks them up and makes them look alive. You can also put a little highlight out in the iris. Okay, so just take a look in the mirror and see where the light's hitting your eyes. Don't forget your shadows. I need to add a little bit more of a shadow to the corner of the whites of the eyes because they're popping out a little bit too much. So I can push them back down with a little bit of brown. The last thing I want to do is add a little bit more detail to the lips. So in the beginning, the lips were red with yellow, white, and a little bit of purple. So I'm coming over with a little bit of brown. I'm darkening the upper lip. And even if you were working from a photograph before, look in the mirror at this point. Your lower lips, I'm going to use some white chalk to create these little curved lines because the lips are slightly different texture than the skin. Of course, then you go over with whatever blending stick you're using and kind of push those colors together. I want to merge them a little bit more, so I've just smeared the brown into the red on the bottom. I'm going to come across with a little bit of yellow for the highlight because the lip is catching a highlight right where it curves out. The next thing I need to do is reinforce the shadow. And I like to use purple. I've got purple all over here. I'm going to get a little bit more in the nostrils. And then I like to blend those marks away. Feel free to leave the lines. You don't have to blend everything away. It can be kind of interesting to have most things blended and then see a couple of lines of just pure color here and there. This is the part where you would take a few steps back, see how it looks from afar. The color's a little bit more true in this film than in the last one. It was pretty dark before. But continue to blend and move things around. So the work I did with the color in the face, I'm going to do that everywhere else. I would do it in the shirt, I would do it in the background. You want to have the same level of finish because that will create unity. So the shirt, if I wanted a blue shirt, I wouldn't just use blue chalk, right? I would use blue in the beginning. And just like the hair, I would go over with a variety of cool colors. Okay, green with the addition of a little bit of white can create a nice sort of turquoise color. But you need to have cool colors in the shadows. You can also neutralize the color. So say you're getting a little bit of blue over here behind the hair and it pops out way too much. So what I can do now is take orange to neutralize the intensity of the blue, and that's going to make it a lot more convincing. Also, I still have the dust from my hair available, so I can pick that up and kind of scoot that around and move it around so that I get a little bit of color all over. After you've blocked everything in and worked with the color the way that I've shown you, you can blow off the chalk dust. Don't use your finger to wipe it off, because if you do, you're going to smear color all over the place. But this would be a good point for me to take a couple steps back and figure out what else is going to happen with this image. Be sure as you continue working out that you erase your grid lines. that way they don't show through in the end. All right, and that's it.